Hi guys, and welcome to my reading wrap up for November. I say it every month, but where did November go? I had a mixed November. I had an okay November. Half the month was really good, half the month wasn't so good, but what can you do? I read 7 books in November. I really wanted to get more read, but it just didn't happen, unfortunately. But I did read some amazing books. So I can't even speak. I'm having real difficulty speaking today. I don't know what's come over me, but yeah, let's just get on with the reading wrap up. The first and best book that I read in November was Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. I have already uploaded a whole video review of this one, so I don't want to say too much about it. If you want to know my thoughts in detail, you can check out my blog review or my video review, but needless to say, it was amazing and it's become probably my all-time favourite book. I absolutely loved it. It kind of put me in a little bit of a book hangover. I really struggled after reading this to get into something else. It was a challenge because I just loved this so much, and no exaggeration, when I finished this, I was in my room and I just lay on my bed and I was just like, what do I do now? I just didn't know what to do with myself. But it was absolutely fantastic. Easiest 5 out of 5 stars I've given in a really, really long time. Absolutely loved it. You need to check this out if you haven't already. So what I read after that was Saga Volume 1 by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. I'm not really a big graphic novel reader, but there's been so much sort of hype and love for this series that I really wanted to give it a try. I didn't want to just write it off just because it wouldn't be something that I would normally go to, if you know what I mean. I did want to sort of start branching out and giving books a try that I wouldn't normally. So this is definitely one of those, and I did really, really enjoy it. Though I can't lie, there was some, I think just the format of graphic novels and manga type stories, sometimes I can find it hard to follow what's happening, if you know what I mean. Just trying to gauge what's happening through illustrations and obviously the dialogue and things, but sometimes I think it's just me as a reader and me as a person can sometimes find that quite hard. I'm one of those people that struggles to follow diagrams when putting flat pack furniture together, things like that. Images don't always help me, but I did really enjoy this. The artwork is absolutely amazing and I'm really intrigued to carry on with the series. It's definitely something that I am going to continue reading, but has it made me want to pick up more graphic novels in general? Not really. It hasn't sparked a love for the format, but I did really enjoy the story, and I'm excited to see where that goes. The next book that I read was one that I read on my Kindle. I'll just find a picture for you here. I read Easy Melody by Kristen Proby, which looks like that. This is the 3rd book in her Bordeaux series. I really like Kristen Proby's books. I read this because after reading sort of Me Before You, I didn't want to read anything too taxing. I wanted to read sort of a go-to author that I know I'm going to enjoy her book no matter what happens, and that's definitely what this is. It's definitely a guilty pleasure read. Her books are sort of contemporary romances. This one was not my favourite book in the series. I think my favourite book remains book 2, which is called Easy Charm. But they're just really fun. I love her books because they follow a format that I like. I like her books because they're about a family where then each one in that family, you obviously get to know the family as a whole, but each one in that family gets their own love story. That's a format that I really, really like. I like Nora Roberts' books like that. I like Bella Andre's books like that. It's just something that I enjoy, and hers no different. I really enjoy them. This one was good, just not my favourite. I gave it 4 out of 5. Definitely recommend her books if you enjoy contemporary romance. I've read her and Love Under the Big Sky series, which was only a 3-book series. I don't think there's going to be any more books in that. That's probably my favourite. Also her With Me in Seattle series, which is probably her most known series, which is again really, really good. And now her Bordeaux series. So really enjoy her books. They're just light and fluffy, and after reading Me Before You, I needed that. So yeah, really enjoyed that. The next book that I read was Pun Direction by Stuart Francis. This is a joke book. It says over 500 of his greatest gags and 4 crap ones. I really love this comedian. I actually forgot to mention in my favourites for October that I went to see him live with my brother in his latest tour, which is called Pungent. I've seen him live twice before, but it was my brother's first time seeing a live comedian, and we had a really good evening. And I had no idea that he had a book, but I found it and I was like, wow, must get this. And it literally is just full of his best jokes. If you're a fan of his, you know all the jokes anyway, but there's a few in here that maybe you don't know. And I really liked it because when we went to the comedy gig, he had, before he came on stage, he had sort of images playing in the background, and they were really funny, and I love them because they are in here. If I can just, where's my favourite one? They're just full of like funny puns, and if you appreciate pun humour, it's definitely worth reading. This wasn't one that I picked up and read all the way through. It was one I picked up, read a few pages of and put down, because obviously it's a joke book. It's not something you're going to just sit and read for hours on end, but it was really good. Gave it 5 out of 5. Fantastic. The next book that I read was also on my Kindle, and it was a bit like reading Kristen Proby. I was still really feeling that book hangover. Me Before You really did give me a book hangover. It was a real struggle. So I went to another author that I love her work, and that's Tilly Cole, and I picked up the first book in her newest series. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know if it's called Reap or Raise. Anyway, it's the first book and it's Raise. And this was actually, I think, darker than her Hades Hangman series, which is my favourite series by her. If you haven't checked it out, you need to. And I thought that series was quite dark and gritty. This is more so. It's about this guy, 818, otherwise known as Raise. He was, when he was young, taken basically to a gulag. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right because it's Russian, and it's basically like an underground prison where young boys are raised and forced to fight each other to the death. Then one day he escapes, and he knows that he has to basically take his revenge, and he has a name in his mind about who he has to take revenge on, but the rest of his memories and his humanity have basically been beaten out of him. He doesn't remember who he is, who his actual name is. All he knows is that he needs to get to Brooklyn and he needs to take revenge on who put him in this gulag. And he gets there and he finds who he has to take revenge on, but then he also meets this woman called Kisa, not quite sure. But then there's the whole, do they have history together? And Kisa is actually engaged to Alec, who is the guy that Raise is there to take revenge on, and they have this whole what's it called, the Russian mafia, the Bratva. It's all about Russian mafia, this underground fighting. It's really quite violent, quite graphic, and it was really good. I didn't like it as much as her Hades Hangman series. I think that's because I read from her first, and I'm absolutely obsessed with that series. Hands down, one of my favourites. This was good, but it didn't reach Hades Hangman. But it was still amazing. I gave it 4 to 4.5 out of 5 stars. I'm still a little bit unsure with the rating. Definitely 4, but I don't know whether it ekes up to 4.5. I'm still on the edge about that one. The next book that I read, I actually stopped the book that I was currently reading because this arrived and I was so excited. I received this one for review. You haven't even seen it in a haul yet because I was so excited to read this, and that's Oblivion by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and this is the first book in the Lux series, Obsidian, retold in Damon's point of view, and I was so excited. I absolutely love the Lux series. I was really sad when it ended, so I was really glad to see that we were getting this. I know a lot of people were skeptical because they say they don't like it when authors basically retell their story from the guy's point of view. I can see where people are coming from, but I think from the fourth book maybe, we did get Damon's point of view, but we were missing it from the earlier book. So I'm really glad to sort of go back and see the very beginning from his point of view, when he meets Katie when she moves in next door, and he's worried that he is basically going to expose all of them. Really, really good. Absolutely love this as much as I thought I would. Definitely 4.5 to 5 out of 5 stars. I think it has to be a 5. So I was really, really excited for this one. This was one of my most anticipated releases, and then when it arrived for review, I was just over the moon excited. Couldn't believe it. I stopped what I was reading to read this, and I have no regrets. It was absolutely amazing. If you're a fan of the Lux series, we all know that you're going to pick this up anyway. Nothing that I'm going to say is going to make you pick it up. However, I would say if you are looking to read the Lux series, I would still read this sort of after Obsidian. Maybe not straight away either, because it will be too repetitive for you to read Obsidian and then pick this up straight away. I still think it's kind of nice to finish the series and then pick this one up. Amazing. And then the book that I put on pause to read Oblivion was Where the Heart Leads by Janelle Bolton, and I just absolutely just didn't enjoy this book whatsoever. I was really forcing myself to read it when Oblivion arrived, and it was the easiest decision to put this down and read that. I did go back and read this, but it was just so boring. I don't understand why this cover, I don't know how well you'll see. This looks like two teenagers. It looks like it's a new adult novel or something. It's not a new adult novel. The cover just doesn't match the story at all. It's about two people. The woman is, I can't even remember their names in all honesty. This is the last book that I read in November, and I actually can't remember their names. I think the female protagonist is called Moira, and I actually can't remember the guy's name. Basically, her husband died. He was a big Hollywood star, and she's now been hired to be the small Texas town's theatre director for their upcoming Christmas show. And she and this single father sort of meet. They're going to have a no-strings relationship, but then of course that doesn't work out. She has secrets. Then the way his wife died is a little bit suspect. The suspense just wasn't there. You knew what happened to his wife really early on, and this book was really just poorly edited. I can't even describe to you. It just wasn't good. And I don't want to bash on a book, but for me this was just not fun to read from start to finish. Nothing about it hooked me in. Nothing about it interested me. It was just really, really boring. Which is a shame, because I love me some cute contemporary, romances. I love that kind of thing. This just fell really, really flat for me, which was an absolute shame. So yeah, that's everything that I read in November, guys. If you've read any of these books, let me know in the comments down below. I always love to know. If I've added any of these books to your wishlist or your TBRs, also let me know down in the comments below. I always love talking to you guys. I always reply. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Happy reading.